today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the Neca Rambo NES figure. Another great video game interpretation of one of the classic characters by the folks over at Neca. The front of the box features, again, that kind of NES-style video game box, which we've come to love so much. Down below, warning, choking hazard, small parts not for children under 3 years of age. On the back, the considerable read-up, actually. There's a good amount of words going on in the back here. It says, "Freedom is everything. You are Rambo, fallen hero, once a decorated Green Beret, special weapons expert, master of the martial arts. Now you're living in a solitary, a prisoner of the government you swore to defend. Intelligence sources believe they have discovered a hidden POW camp deep in the jungle. Your brother in arms have been enslaved there for years. It's your choice: accept a suicide mission to help find the camp, or spend the rest of your life in a 6x8 cell. Your body is a weapon. Your mind is a disciplined machine. The most advanced military hardware is at your disposal, and a chopper waits to carry you to the drop site. Where once again you will be alone deep in hostile territory. This is your war, Rambo, a war that will test your every skill, a war with only two possible results: freedom or death." It says, "Knife stores in sheath. Strike fear with your bow and arrows. Colorful array of weapons, and up at the top, armed and alone, you wage war in enemy territory." This comes to us from, again, the folks over at Neca Toys. You can go to www.necaonline.com. Just before we actually take a break, one thing you can actually do too is open up the inside of the box. It says your mission is to sneak into the enemy camp and find them. Are you up to it? Rambo replies either with, "I'm not afraid of death," or "I feel better in prison." I don't know what kid would actually have chosen the second option, but there you can see Rambo there. The figure, as well as his life stats, his supply of weapons. Right now it looks like his knife is on low. He's got 30, and it looks like he's also got no ammunition. That's not going to be very helpful at all. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Neca Rambo NES figure. There's more heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. In this NES treatment, Neca has swapped out the dirty, grungy military fatigues that Rambo normally sports for something a little more vibrant and bright in color. If you are new to the NES-style characters, they're essentially characters depicted from their NES Nintendo games. So, like Rambo is very cel-shaded versus a regular flesh color that we would come to expect with this figure. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I gotta say, for the NES enthusiasts out there, the ones that really have gotten on board this line that Neca continues to release, I'm continued to be impressed. I love this cel-shaded treatment. It's not quite something right taken from the screen, because essentially Rambo, the old Nintendo game, would have been very pixelized. Rambo wouldn't have been this detailed, but the coloring carries over from what we saw of him in the game. So, for example, his pants, as opposed to being, I guess, like a military black or green in color, now are this, it's kind of like a tomato ketchup red, almost borderline orangey red. And then he's got the details on the front painted, giving that indication of light and dark. In this case, he's got the dark slashes. Really, by standard of toy design, would look very primitive, but again, fits perfectly into that NES treatment. But again, I love that. I love the orange, this yellowy kind of orange color that they put on it to give that indication of light. His boots, again, have been swapped out to that red treatment, black on the undersoles of his feet. He's really a fun-looking figure. I mean, again, looking at something like this, and we've already seen like the other released pieces that they've done, you know, like the Rocky, the Rambo, some of the earlier figures, the Batman, and also, of course, let's not forget the Predator. Neca, again, just really impresses me with these pieces. But what I was going to say, though, is looking at this really makes me want to get a Predator Dutch. Pink pants, completely outlandish, but that's the way it was designed in the video game. John Rambo comes with a slew of different accessories, all of which having this bright colored treatment. He's got a bow. complete actually with a real string cord. He also comes with not one, but two different arrows. And I say different because if you look at one of them looks more like a pine cone kind of tip, whereas the other one is just more like a circular tip, which I think this one might be more an explosive arrow, or possibly even this one right here. He also comes with a knife, which can be either housed in his hand or housed in the side sheath that comes on the figure like that. He also comes with a very, very small grenade. Again, makes me think Predator. I never had Rambo, the video game, when I was younger, but I definitely did have Predator. A little grenade there. He comes with a rocket launcher. And again, you might either like this or really dislike this. If you like this, it's like root beer. If you really like it, you'll love it. With these particular figures, there's no real in-between. Maybe even too, like with a Rambo, you might not have gotten on board with the NES treatment figures before, but maybe you grew up with Rambo, so all the more reason that you would want to pick up this particular figure. And lastly, the other accessories that come included with Rambo is a variation of different opened hands. Some of them more better suited for holding smaller things like the grenade or the handle of the rocket launcher, and then again some of them a little more suited for holding the bow. I'm not really even sure how I would necessarily display Rambo. Like, part of me wants to go like full rocket launcher treatment, while the other half of me would think he's better suited with a bow and arrow. So at least you have possibilities when displaying the piece. In the way of this articulation, now I find that's the one problem maybe with some of these figures. Because there is so much extra paint on them, it does make for a little more of a stiffer figure. He does have a ball joint in the head. He does have ball hinge socket shoulders. Doesn't look like he has any sort of swivel in the bicep. However, he does have a bend in the elbow, and then this is what I'm talking about. Because he's got this extra paint, moving some of the joints can be a little more problematic. He also has a swivel in the wrist, an upper torso crunch. He doesn't look like he's got a swiveled waist, although if he does, I just can't move it. And then he's got the tried and true, love the new articulation on the NECA figures. He's got the ball joint legs, also the ball hinge knee, then it swivels, and a pivoting foot. I guess really the only other thing I would have loved to have seen with these figures, and that's really just across the board when it comes to the NES figures, is I'd love to see a display stand. Just a big circular display stand. Even if you could have put in the game box art on the stand and had the figure standing on top of that, that would have been a nice touch as well. Rambo, you may either like or dislike this figure. The original sculpt was fantastic, and I'm really digging the NES treatment they put on this guy. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the NECA Toys Rambo, the Nintendo NES variant. It's not really even so much a variant, but it is the NES repaint of the classic Rambo. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more Toy Spots heading your way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.